everyone, Piet and Grade here from the Purple House Wellness Center in Forth, Tasmania. Hope you're enjoying your day today. Last week we talked about our client who had had a heart attack, and he came back to us, to our facilities, with all the information that he'd received from the hospital, and which is actually contrary to what we told him. So today we're going to go into the next chapter of some lies and things that people believe in and they base their health on. So today we want to share with you how fruit is unhealthy or toxic for your body, and how cholesterol is actually healthy. So every day when you go out there and you listen to the radio or wherever you get your information from on the surface, it's always telling you that cholesterol is harmful and it gets the blame for everyone, right? For everything that goes wrong in your body, they go, oh, it's cholesterol, you should be on cholesterol lowering drugs and all the rest. And that fruit is healthy. Eat more fruit and drink, go on a fruit fast, go on a juice fast, go on a carrot juice fast, etc. So Pete and I, this is not what we believe, alright? So this is, I have to preface, this is our opinion from our research we've done over the last 20 years, or since the year 2000, which is, you know, already 23 years, as well as working with clients. So it's not just book work, book knowledge. We've seen thousands, tens of thousands of clients since that time. So during actually in the year 2010, a big discovery was made by scientists about fruit. Do you want to talk about that, Peter?
Yeah, they discovered that our bodies are actually changing fructose into the same things as the bad runny oils, the poly-unsaturated seed-based oils.
So do you want to explain about fructose then as well? Well, some people don't know what fructose is.
Well, fructose is the sugar of fruit that spikes our blood sugars well above 6. Every blood sugar above 6 is causing inflammation and massive amounts of insulin to be squirted out from the pancreas into the bloodstream to get that sugar into the cells. So when we cause our pancreas to produce massive amounts of insulin multiple times, we build up insulin resistance. The cells become insulin resistant, and that's the precursor to type 2 diabetes. But I've had clients come to me. One woman had half a banana on the way from home to here, which was 15 minutes away. And when she got here, her blood sugar level was about 7.6. Another one had a full banana, and 20 minutes later her blood sugar was 8.7.
And a lot of the time it stays high like that for hours.
If you handling sugars well, it'll be back down in, say, an hour, but that spike of sugar above 6 is causing inflammation, and that inflammation is caused on the inside of arteries, cell membranes, and then the cholesterol that we have comes along and puts, if we've inflamed the inside of an artery, the blood becomes turbulent, so it doesn't flow properly. Along comes a bit of cholesterol and puts a nice smooth patch back on that inflammation, and so the blood can run smoothly again.
It's like nature's own band-aid.
They're the firemen. Cholesterol is the fireman putting out the fire. Mm-hmm. And we blame cholesterol for
the fire.
Heart problems.
Well, we say it's the fire, yeah, but it's actually the blaming, that's right.
It's blaming firemen for the fire. Mm-hmm. If we cut out the inflammation, then cholesterol won't harm us. It is in the plaque that occludes arteries, admittedly. But if we don't inflame our arteries, cholesterol is our friend. It's putting a nice smooth patch back on.
Not only is cholesterol our friend, I agree with everything Pete is saying. Cholesterol is the main building blocks of your body, including saturated fats. Like cholesterol and saturated fats make up 65% of you. And so there's 2 lies that we have to debunk here. So that fruit is good for you, so we have to go back to that in a minute. and that cholesterol is bad for you. Well, how can cholesterol be bad for you?
Or saturated fats,
Yeah.
which are
When
a lot of cholesterol.
And when it's actually you, right? Cholesterol and saturated fats improve your brain, regenerate your brain, whereas fruits degenerate your brain. All sugar actually, talking about the brain now, because the brain is a fragile instrument, and we're seeing a lot of strokes and all the rest now as well.
Neurological diseases, the myelin sheath is totally saturated fat and cholesterol, and that prevents the conduction of the nerve being shorted out.
Mm-hmm.
It's the what's the word I'm after?
Protection,
yeah.
I guess.
It's the insulator.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Otherwise, your nervous system is just raw without any insulation. And you can see people like that on the street, like, you see people walking around, Peter and I can anyway, and we can see straight away they have neurological disorders, even young kids. And then you look what they eating or drinking, it would be a bucket of Coke or even, but Coke, well, apple juice is just as bad as Coke. So let's just go back to the fruits for a sec. So the fruit, our body has never ever, mankind has never ever had this much fruit to deal with or to digest ever, and our liver doesn't have a stop button. So for instance, you can eat one apple. Well, who feels satisfied after one apple? Nobody, eh? Because the liver doesn't go, I'm satisfied now, because there's no mechanism in the liver. If you think of your liver as a conveyor belt and food comes in, with all other foods, especially healthy fats and meat, your liver goes, I've had enough now, so it stops the conveyor belt. But if you're eating fruit or fruit juice, fructose, the liver, the conveyor belt just keeps going, and you just keep eating. Now you might have a mandarin because you think it's healthy and cleansing, then you have a kiwi fruit, then you have a juice, then you have this, blah, blah, blah. And the conveyor belt keeps, and in the meantime, all the apples, the food is spilling over in your liver, creating a lot of damage, making you feel tired, because now the liver has to do something with all this fructose. And what it actually does, it has to convert it into something else, because it's toxic to your body. And so it converts it into cholesterol, it clogs up your liver. Now you have fatty liver. So I think 30 to 40% of Australians have non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is a huge amount of people.
I would dare to say that everyone on a Western style diet would have fat stored in the liver, and I would call that fatty liver. I know the medical world don't call it fatty liver until it has really clogged the liver up, but we don't really need fat stored in our liver because it's impeding the function of the liver.
Which is cleansing your blood, by the way.
Yeah.
And many other. The liver has like 500 functions in your body that we know of.
And
so
our body can use 1 teaspoonful of sugar at any one time, and all the rest is being converted into that cholesterol.
So just think of it as a conveyor belt, right? You're eating an apple or a mandarin or grapes, or even worse because they're so sweet, bunch of grapes. Well, do you actually feel satisfied ever? So if you're really, really true with yourself, you don't get that signal like, now I'm full. And if you give it to your children, that leads to ADHD and all sorts of like behaviors. We see behaviors then and we blame the child, when it's actually 100% related to the food that the child eats. And grains, of course, is another one. So like grains are inflammatory, but most people probably now already realize that grains are harmful, even wholemeal grain, right? Because we hear so much about it. But we're still hearing about juice fasts and say carrot juice even, which is a vegetable. Can I just say carrot juice is also full of fructose. So like if you think, oh, I'm having this carrot juice or carrot and celery to clean my blood, well, you're not cleaning your blood, because again, the conveyor belt in your liver is spilling over your liver. It's going to get clogged and it can't actually purify your blood.
We had a client come to us with really bad skin problems, and we recommended she cut out high starch carbs and sugars and start having more fats in a diet for energy and get her liver working properly. Anyway, she kept coming back. Her skin wasn't improving until one day we said, well, what have you done today? She said, oh, I just had my juice. And we said, what juice? Yeah. And she said, oh, my carrot juice. So we could eat 1 carrot or 2 carrots maybe. We can have the juice of 10. So we're having a lot of sugar in that carrot juice. Well, she was. We recommended she cut out her juice for a couple of weeks and see what happened. And her skin cleared up within 2 weeks after stopping carrot juice.
Which is amazing, isn't it, really? So it's just all based on kind of fairy tales, right? Back in the days, 100 years ago, you had those horrible fairy tales, you know, like about the big bad wolf and stuff like that. Well, we told, people believe those fairy tales. We just told all sorts of fairy tales today about what's good for you. And
the apples 100, 200 years ago would have been small, tart little apples like the seedling apple you would find on the side of the road.
And apparently they were bitter too, so like sour and bitter. So if you took one mouthful, you'd go like, ooh.
It parched the inside of your mouth. So we wouldn't have been eating it. But over the last 100 years or so, fruit has been hybridised to become sweeter and sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. If you taste a grape in the supermarket and it's sour, you won't buy those grapes. Sure.
Also, remember how you worked on a grape farm many years ago, like 40 years ago. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, they were sprayed with hormones to make them nice and
to make them produce grapes in time.
Make them nice and big and juicy and
This is like 40 years ago.
They were sprayed to produce big, shiny, sweet grapes.
So they'd be full of hormones too. So like all fruits are natural except for dates and figs, which haven't been altered. But we still don't recommend that you go
crazy with dates and figs because they are fairly sweet.
Actually, and I had a similar story. I had a client as well with skin issues, and his skin issues also didn't improve, and he cut out all fruit, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but in the end I found out he was eating dates like crazy. So like he still snacked on dates. So we do things like we're tricking ourselves. You don't, like Pete and I, we don't mind if you trick us, by the way, but we want you to feel better. So also, like, just to get back to story time, our little grandson Elijah, who's doing really well now, he's 13, but he was born with severe autoimmune disorder, like literally from his first breath, his body was fighting life, you could say, anything that we considered healthy.
All his body was inflamed.
Lots of pain, and then like, he was my biggest teacher, always has been for 13 years. Anyway, so gradually we suggested that he goes on a gluten-free diet and of course sugar-free and blah blah. Then he had to go egg-free, and then by the time he was 5, though his degeneration continued, when he was 5 he started to go blind on top of all the other aches and pains that he had in his body, like severe joint aches and so on. And he started to lose his eyesight then as well. His eyeballs were inflamed, which absolutely broke our hearts. And so this is now 8 years ago. So we suggested, or we did more research, and what was suggested was a very strict carnivore diet. So he could only eat meat, fats, have healthy salt and water. That was it.
Bone broth soups.
That's right. So I read somewhere that bone broth has all the good stuff in it that recreates your eyes. By the way, you have a new eyeball every 48 hours, which is totally amazing. So your body wants to regenerate, same as you have a new liver every 6 weeks. So Eli just had to go on this meat diet, and poor darling, he of course loved his carbs because all sick people love carbs, right? That's just a fact. And so he refused to eat anything for a couple of days, and then in the end he actually started to eat his meat, and then within how many months? 3 months or
It was
something?
2 or 3 months. His eyes had lost the inflammation.
That's right, and then another 3 months or 6 months.
He still had the disorder of multi-system inflammatory disorder, but the inflammation had disappeared out of his eyes.
And then after 6 months, the scar tissue was gone from his eyeballs as well. So actually, that's right. So last year when he was 12, he was in Melbourne for further investigation at the pediatric section, and they discovered that Elijah has one of the rarest forms of childhood diseases that children are born with, babies are born with. It's called Nomet's, conditional Nomet's disease. And usually those kids die by the time they're 20. They also have like brain damage,
hearing loss,
they go blind,
eyesight.
They just have really, really difficult, tragic life, with lots of pain, like massive meningitis and all the rest. And Elijah, they were surprised how good Elijah is. Like, he doesn't have any organ damage. They couldn't believe it. Like, they couldn't believe that he wasn't deaf and blind, and he does have very, very deformed bone structures on his knee. So eventually, because there's actually medication for it, so that's what I want you to know, that turns off the gene. He was born with a mutated gene, and this medication, which only came on the market 2 years ago, helps to turn off that gene. So now he has a chances of a good life. But his mate carnivore diet got him to this point. He wouldn't be alive otherwise, probably.
And he probably would be far better off if he continued that carnivore diet even now, but he is enjoying some carbohydrates now.
Well, that's right. He's making up for lost time. So just to get back to fruits are not your friend, they're your enemy, right? They're the enemy to your body. Because, like I said before, your body doesn't have a mechanism to say, I've had enough fructose, because humans have never had this much fruit ever. So the body didn't need a mechanism. And then sometimes we hear people say, well, what about scurvy then? Like, remember all the sailors on the ships who died from scurvy, which is an awful disease because they didn't have fruit. And so when they were given lemons, the scurvy disappeared. Well, I have done research on that as well. And apparently scurvy can only happen when there is too many carbohydrates in the diet. So if those sailors hadn't eaten any carbs at all, like imagine if they'd eaten just fish or whale blubber or whatever they could have, they wouldn't have had scurvy, because vitamin C uses the same pathways as your sugars and carbs, and actually your body will use sugars and carbs and block the vitamin C, right? So there's that one. Plus, I wanted to say, when Elijah was on his strict meat diet, we would test him like we would do our regular tests, and it always showed that he had good levels of vitamin C. So there you go. So that debunks that one.
And people with allergies, eczema, asthma, the best foods for those people are meats and fats. The worst ones are your carbohydrates and fruits and sugars. But particularly the sugar of fruit, our bodies, that was found back in 2010, turns that sugar to the bad runny oils, same thing as the bad runny oils. And they are causing, trans fats are causing inflammation in our body. Especially
heart disease. So like, if you think, well, who cares about inflammation? I'm not inflamed, right? But actually, of course, how many people suddenly have a heart attack? And of course, that's happening younger and younger, right? So heart attacks are from inflammation. So we're talking about preventing heart disease. So we also know of people who were completely clogged up. So they'd already had a heart attack, waiting for the next one to happen, and they stopped eating fruits and carbs as well. So they followed our recommendation. And also we recommended enzymes, especially serrapeptase and beet flow. And within 6 months, their arteries and veins were back on safe ground. So the body can literally unclog. So it's not a life sentence, right? You don't need to use artificial measures to get your health back on track. So I also wanted to say that zoos that have monkeys, right, years ago already, probably around the same time, 2010, they stopped giving monkeys bananas because
they were developing diabetes.
Yeah, and ADHD, their behavior, they were aggressive, their behavior was out of control. And so they realized, well, monkeys shouldn't have fruit or bananas. But we're still eating bananas.
Yeah, 200 years ago, if we ate the fruit that was in our garden, the original type of fruits, we would have been eating fruit for 2 or 3 months of the year. And yeah, we might have caused a little bit of inflammation because there is far less fructose in those fruits then. But then we would have had 9 or 10 months without it because we wouldn't have stored it.
People also, actually, in some areas of the world, people almost starved every winter because the winters were long, especially in Europe, like Northern Europe or Northern America, and they just ran out of food because the growing season was short. So their body probably would have worked on a bit of fat, like
that's what it was designed to do, is store that fat for the oncoming winter, that when food disappears.
That's right, that's how they then survived the winter. But some people actually didn't survive winters, and then some winters were just too long, and so in the end, sometimes people, whole families, just had to lie in bed day and night for the last month or so because they ran out of food and they had no energy to work anymore, and they had to literally lie in bed together to stay warm for a month or so before the sun started shining, and sometimes they didn't make it and whole villages died like that. So this is all knowledge that we need to know, like that maybe we still have a crazy urge as humanity to just gobble food down non-stop because that's still in the collective consciousness, you know. And I'm talking about places like, as I said, North European, North American cold countries. That's how they have to survive.
But the best energy source that you can ever give your body is fats rather than sugars.
And now we have to talk about the right fats, because if people are new to this
because saturated fats, which they're the meat fats, dairy and cream and butter, cheeses, and your coconut oil. And then your good runny oils are the ones without omega-6 in, which we're told omega-6 is needed. We need a little bit of it, but not in the amounts that are in the oils. We need the amounts that are in the foods that contain those oils if we eat a little bit of it. But too much causes massive inflammation in our body.
Most people wouldn't know what omega-6 is.
It's one of the essential fatty acids that our bodies need. We need to eat it, but eat it in the foods that are in, like avocados.
Oh, okay.
They've got some omega-6 and omega-3s in. But the monounsaturated oils, which are olive, macadamia nut oil, sesame seed oil, and peanut oil, does have some polys, but is mainly mono. Those are about the 4 oils that I recommend clients to have in the runny oil section.
But that's probably if you're vegan or vegetarian, because meat fats are more stable and better for you.
Yeah, they are. And those meat fats do have some of the unsaturated fats in them as well. Like meat fats are 70% saturated, 30% unsaturated. Coconut oil has an 8% unsaturated component. So we are getting unsaturated, probably plenty of unsaturated fats in those other fats. So have your animal fats and your butter and cream and coconut oil.
And have beet flour with it for starters.
They'll also make you sleep better.
Yeah, while you are in a transition period, like going from a more carbohydrate food diet over to the carnivore or keto, I guess we're talking about, have beet flour. Anyway, everyone needs beet flour, because if you're eating too much food, you need beet flour as well. So beet flour helps your liver to function better and to clean itself out. So it's like the plumbing for your pipes. Yeah. And then a good enzyme, so omnizyme is great, or some other enzymes that have serrapeptase in it would be synthol or what is it? Infanor. That help to clean out your arteries or any scar damage. And then of course Pete and I, we always recommend that you have really, really good probiotic, like Immunosymbiotic Restore is a very, very good one, because your immune system is like 80% or 90% really your gut bacteria, which is also to do with your digestion, of course, right? So it's like a loop, of course. And then if you're lacking energy, well, everyone in Australia needs iodine. So the 4 products that I just showed you come together as a package called Ultimate Vitality Boost.
They've assisted thousands of our clients, those 4 products.
There needs to be a lifestyle choice. Yeah. Also, you can also have the Purple House smoothie if you're not interested in eating meats, which is pretty much contains all the nutrients you need every day. So that, and
if it does upset you a bit, just slowly increase the oil content in it, because
it's very fatty.
It has got a lot of fat in, and if you don't tolerate those fats, it can upset you a bit. But have the beet flow to get that bile flow happening, so you digest your fats better, and that'll keep the digestive system happy.
Let us know what you think about fruits and fruit breaks at school. I'm a pet hate, of course, because I'll finish with saying that, because like all the sugars go into the kids' brains, and then they want to run around, especially little boys, they're out of control, and then you have to, like the horse is bolted and you're trying to shut the gate. So they would be better probably having something else, like little fat bombs.
Little fat bombs made from coconut oil.
Or a leftover cold sausages, something like that, that's also very fatty. Just a little something like that would be much better. And hopefully we're going to live in a world one day where everyone has common sense and people know the real truth behind the superficial research that's done everywhere. Okay, thanks everyone. Let us know what you think, and if you are confused or whatever, that's good. Just send us a message or send us an email if you need any explanation, and we're here to help you and support you on your journey to better health and happiness. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Bye.